Welcome to the 2 Acre Homestead Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa. And on today's episode, this is the season finale for season 4. Can't believe it's here, but here we are. So let's get started. I'm super excited for you guys. Welcome to the 2 Acre Homestead. Come along with us on our journey from a small suburban homestead lifestyle to our new lifestyle, homesteading in the rural countryside of southern Arizona. We'll share with you our tips, tricks, successes, and failures from both our past suburban lifestyle to our new rural lifestyle, all on the 2 Acre Homestead. I cannot believe we have made it to season 4, the finale of season 4. Season 4 has been all about how to. And there's just so many things that we can discuss when it comes to how to ... insert here. But we really wanted to focus this particular season on a subject that I felt just doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. And that is moving a homestead and looking for property. And what are some of the things that you should keep your eyes open for when looking to make that leap into the country or make that leap into a bigger homestead? Now, totally get it with the economy and everything going on in the world today. Most people are probably not interested in selling their homes right now. But, however, if things do change, this will be a really great resource for you guys to come back to. So if you think that in the future, you want to move, out into the country, move onto some acreage, move into a bigger homestead situation, even in suburbia, these are just some tips and tricks that will really be helpful for you guys. And then we had this wonderful interview with Bethany Lucas from Keller Williams. And she is a really good resource, knowledgeable person about real estate, and somebody that I really trust when it comes to the real estate market. And so, be sure to reach out to her if you have any questions. I can vouch for her that she is not the type of real estate agent that is going to try to pressure, bully, push you into some sort of a real estate transaction that you're not interested in. She's very much a take it or leave it type of person, which is really good. And she's also a homesteader. I don't think we really discussed that a whole lot, but she's also a homesteader. So she totally understands the dynamics of what you might be looking for when it comes to property with acreage. And that's something that we didn't really discuss a whole lot, is that when you're looking for a real estate agent, because obviously not everybody listening to this podcast is from the state of Arizona. When you're looking for a real estate agent, you really want to make sure that you find someone who understands the dynamics of homesteading, what you're looking to do, because not all realtors are created equal. So if a real estate agent is something that you want to, or someone that you want to hire, you want to make sure you're hiring the right realtor. Somebody that understands what you're looking for. And that takes some digging, that takes some research, that takes some talking to them, interviewing them. It takes a lot actually to find the right fit. But once you find that person, that right person, you're good from there. So I really was excited to have her interviewed on the podcast. and have her input on how to buy a homestead. And then we also did the how to move a homestead based on our experiences. And then we also did a couple episodes on gardening because, it's springtime. As of the recording of this is the last week of March. And so we are definitely into spring. So that means this is the time to get out there, start planting. If you're like me, you are in gardening zone. I would say anywhere from gardening zone 7A higher. You really want to make sure all of your brassica families are in. Make sure your alliums are in, which is your onion families. So that when I say brassicas, I'm talking about all of your broccoli, your collards, your kales, kohlrabi, cauliflower. I'm sure there's something else I'm not thinking of, but those are the major hitters. And then your allium family would be all of your onions, your shallots, your green onions or spring onions. Some people call it that. Make sure those guys are in there. Make sure if you love cilantro like we do, I can't get enough of it. Make sure all of your cilantro is planted. Make sure you get out there and start gardening because this is the time to start getting your transplants and your seeds out there. But this season, we did talk a lot about how to buy seeds. Seed buying is not just, a lot of times we just think, I'm just going to buy a packet of seeds. But there's more to it than just buying your seeds. There are things that you have to think about, like what does your family like to eat? Where are you located in the country? For example, we're talking about onions. Onions come in different, we'll call them different layers, so to speak. So there are some that are long day, there are some that are short day, and there are some that are intermediate day. And that really talks about the length of daylight that they get. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going to get long day onions because you get about, 14, 15 hours of sunlight during the summer. However, if you're like me, you're in kind of a strange swath of the country. We're considered southern. We're definitely southern, but because of our altitude, we grow intermediate onions here. But if you're anywhere else in the South and you're, normal elevation, lower elevation, then you would grow short day because, your days are not as long during the summer as, our friends in the North. They have the longer summer days where, the sun doesn't set until like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. But, in the South, the sun still sets during the summer. It may set around 7:30, 8 o'clock is when the sun is starting to go down. So that is considered a short day. So knowing your seeds, knowing where you are in the country, knowing your growing zone, knowing a lot about where you are and trying to connect with other people who are in your local area, as far as connecting with them, knowing what to grow, what they grow, maybe you can grow the same thing. That's why farmers markets sometimes are really good because you can go to a farmer's market, you can talk to the farmers, you can ask them, hey, when did you plant this? Because, I'm having problems with tomatoes. I just moved here and my tomatoes are growing kind of weird. When do you plant your tomatoes? And, what kind of tomatoes are these? Well, now you know. And now you can go do the same thing that they're doing and have hopefully the same amount of success that they do. But knowing how to buy your seeds is super important. Then we also talked about how to grow a successful garden. There's just a lot of things that come into growing a successful garden. I think my favorite part of that particular episode was at the end, and that is just creating a nice space for you to sit down and observe all of the hard work that you've done, and be able to just sit there and be grateful for what you've got going on. No matter how big or small your garden is, create a little vignette, a little area where you can sit and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And then, of course, we can't forget, we had our friend Karen Velez from the Just Grow Something podcast. Was so excited to have her, to interview her on one of our episodes this season, because, and it really wasn't even an interview. It was like two gardeners having a good chat. And we just let you guys listen. But, she is just full of a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge. Go check her out on Instagram and follow her on Instagram and on her website, justgrowsomething.com. Give her some love because she has a lot of knowledge. I mean, just a lot of gardening knowledge and a lot of enthusiasm for gardening. So, and that enthusiasm is contagious. Well, this season has also been a difficult season for our family. And this has been also a season, we'll call it a season of grieving for us. As most of you do know, my husband lost his mother in death, and it was very untimely, sudden, and it was really hard, and it still is really hard. And we just wanted to say thank you for the support and for the words of encouragement that you, the listeners, I tell you what, I was really surprised at how many direct messages we got, just saying that we're sorry, we're sorry for the loss of your family, and just nice words of encouragement. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. That really does mean a lot. And next season, my husband, Kevin, will be back with us. And so he'll be back, and we're giving him some time and some space to take care of a few things, take care of himself. And then we're just going to keep going forward, right? So next season, we'll have him on a little bit more. So now I really wanted to get to the heart of the season finale, and that is answering you guys' questions. I get asked a lot of questions. I don't necessarily respond to all of them. And that's because if I'm not responding to your question right away, it's likely because I'm going to be using your question in a season finale to answer what people are asking. So for today's video, or for today's podcast, the first question, I have been getting asked this question in real life, on Instagram, via email. I have been getting this question a lot. So today we're going to answer this question. And basically the question goes like this. I've been asked this question on Instagram. I've been emailed this question. It comes up all the time. So I figured today is the day that I'm going to really answer this question for you guys. The question usually starts off like this. I see on Instagram that you do canning. Are you going to do videos on canning, or are you going to start teaching people how to can? Usually the questions go somewhat like that. To answer those questions, yes, and yes. How's that for an answer? So yes, I do can. I water bath can, Rather reluctantly, water bath canning is not my favorite form of canning. I'm just going to be very blunt. It's not my favorite form. I know exactly how to do it, and I do it every year, but it's not my favorite. But pressure canning is actually my favorite form of canning. And yes, I can every year. I have been canning. I have been canning since, oh wow, I would say probably since 2013. I've been canning that long. Actually, when I think about it, I've been canning for a little while now. Both pressure and water bath canning. Will I do videos on canning? Yes.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you looking to build a homestead from the ground up? Or maybe you're looking to build an off-grid dream home, a vacation home, or maybe just a piece of land to call your own. Visit yourcheapland.com to buy rural land in the wide open spaces of southwestern United States. When you visit yourcheapland.com, they're here to help you, and with their help, you can do this. You can take your dream of owning land and make it a reality. Most down payments are only $294, including the document fee. Remember, everyone qualifies for financing at yourcheapland.com. Head on over to yourcheapland.com and start making those dreams come true. And now, back to our podcast. Will I do instructional videos, instructional teaching? Yes. And let me explain the difference. So this year coming up, we're really working hard on doing more YouTube videos. So as the season progresses, you will see me on some videos doing canning. I will not explain on YouTube the ins and outs, how to can, the science behind it, because frankly, there is a science behind it. So I won't be doing any how to can. You might see me can on YouTube, but for more instructional, detailed information, stay tuned, because we've already done one thing on our website where, we've done like instructional workshop, and we are likely, as the season, probably sometime in June, we're going to be doing a canning workshop sometime around there. It may even be May. It just depends on how quickly I can get my act together. But I will be announcing that on Instagram and here on the podcast when registration is open and available for you guys to sign up, if that's something that you're interested in. I am very cautious about teaching people how to can. And, the reason why I'm cautious about teaching people how to can is because there's a lot of what they call rebel canning. And a lot of rebel canning is not bad canning. A lot of what you will hear people say, oh, that's rebel canning. There's so many different ways to can. And I think we tend to get hung up on, well, it has to be, USDA, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it does. But at the same time, there are other countries where people can, and they've done it for, eons of time, hundreds of years, and they don't follow all of the things that we do here. So is there a science? Yes. And it really comes down to, as a person who's canning, you've got to make that decision on whether you're going to rebel can or not, because most of the times when the USDA says don't can this, or the National Center for Home Food Preservation, they'll say it too, don't do it this way, don't do it that way. That's because it's been a funding issue, because it has not been the USDA's priority to fund, fund or to add money to the pot, so to speak, to help people learn how to can and preserve their own food. It's not been their priority. It's not been their agenda. And so those things, they just will blatantly say, don't do it. And it's because they've never tested it, but yet everybody else on the planet is doing it. So you have to make those choices. But what I will be instructing you all on is the science behind it, the how to. So that way, because once you understand the science of canning, it kind of opens up your eyes to the fact that it's a whole different world. There's a lot that you can do and a lot you can't do and shouldn't do, like, ever. But once you have the basic science of it, you then are equipped to make the right choices for you and your family. So that's what I'm going to really be focused on in the workshop, is the science behind it, not necessarily the how to can strawberry jam. Because once you get the science behind it, you can follow those recipes. You don't need a how to. But what you need is a how to handle that piece of machinery, and what's going on in those canning jars when you're canning. So that was a long-winded answer, but yes, I will be doing some canning videos, but they will be for the workshop that will be hosted on our website. So stay tuned for that. So question number 2 is, what do you feed your chickens? And the person who asked me that question asked me because they saw a picture on Instagram of my husband's hand with grain. We feed our chickens, oh my goodness, we feed them a plethora of things. So we feed them a mixture of black oil sunflower seeds, cracked corn, split peas, Milo, and oats. And then our chickens get pretty much everything out of the refrigerator. So every week I clean out my refrigerator. They'll get the majority of the things that are in there. And believe you me, they eat it up like nobody's business. There are a few things I don't feed our chickens. I don't feed them raw potato, citrus, onions, and obviously chicken meat. If we have any meat left over that, we don't want to eat for whatever reason, it will first go to the dogs. And if the dogs, if it's not, the dogs don't finish it off for whatever reason, then it goes to the chickens. And sometimes I'll even prioritize the chickens over the dogs. It just depends. And that's because on our homestead, it usually goes like this. We have 2 bins. One bin is for the chickens. One bin in our kitchen is for the compost. Right now, we're dealing with an extra abundance of eggs. We're getting about 20 some odd eggs a day, which is more than enough to feed our family. So I've been water glassing eggs, and I've also, what I also do is I also feed our dogs eggs. So it kind of goes like this. I feed the chickens the scraps. I also feed the eggs to the dogs, and the rabbits that are on our homestead, their manure goes towards the garden. And when we harvest our rabbits, then that also feeds, sometimes it'll feed our dogs, but then sometimes it'll feed our chickens. It just kind of goes in a circle, so to speak. And I don't think I'm really describing it accurately or clearly, I should say, at this point in time. But the point is that yes, we do feed our chickens these particular types of foods. They eat more from our scraps than they do from, the grains that we premix for them. We have started steering clear of feeding our chickens, and this has been before all of this stuff with Tractor Supply, but we've been steering clear of feeding them any sort of processed pelleted food. We're trying to steer clear of that because there's really no need. There's no need for any outside extra food like that, except for the ones that I named off. During the height of summer, when the gardens are really producing, we feed them a lot from the gardens, but we also make sure that we set aside a portion of our gardens just to feed the chickens and the rabbits. We really make it a point to do that. So, for example, my family, for whatever reason, we're not that crazy about butternut squash. We'll eat it from time to time, but not all the time. And that goes for butternut, acorn, any of the winter squashes like that. We're just not big into them. But I do grow them all the time, every year. And what I do is I will steam them for a little bit, let them cool off, and then just feed it to the chickens in the wintertime. They tear that stuff up. They will just, I've watched them eat that first. They'll eat a butternut squash first before they'll eat the grains that we give them. So it is kind of interesting how chickens are picky that way. But that is basically what we feed our chickens. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Yeah, hopefully that makes some sense. So, well, that's it for this particular episode. So just to keep you guys in the loop, we will be returning to the podcast on Thursday, May 4th. We are giving ourselves a month off. We're basically giving ourselves the month of April off. And that's for multiple reasons, but mainly because this is my go time. I am planting like some sort of crazy woman right now. And this is the time for me to get these gardens whipped into shape, get all of my plantings out there. I'm homeschooling, and we've got some things still going on, some family matters going on, revolving around the death of my mother-in-law. And so there's just a lot of flying pieces all over the place. So we're hoping to take this month off, the month of April off, so that we can kind of get all the pieces back together and get all the things done that we need to, so that way we can focus a little bit more back on the podcast and we can be back on the air, talking to you guys about the things that matter. But in the meantime and in between time, just because we are not doing anything for the month of April 2023, that does not mean that you will not see or hear from us. Follow us on Instagram. We are very active on Instagram, and follow us on YouTube. So if you're looking for our channel on YouTube, look for, and you need to type capital T and then for the 2 Acre Homestead. So make sure everything is capitalized. So the T, the 2 T's, and then the A and the H. So the 2 Acre Homestead, and you should be able to find us on YouTube. Go ahead and click the subscribe button. We will be posting videos over there so you can catch up with us, see us in the gardens, see what's going on. And that way we're not losing track of each other. And also be sure to sign up. If you go to our website, the2acrehomestead.com, sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter is on Substack, and you can choose to subscribe for free, or you can choose to subscribe to our newsletter and make a donation. That would be very much appreciated if you choose to do that. But you'll find on our Substack, you'll find a lot more narrative from me about home life, mom life, and homesteading with children. So you'll find out a little bit more about me and my family over there on Substack. So that is it from all of us here on our homestead. We're so happy that you have tuned in to season 4, and season 5 is going to be a good season because we're going to be talking a little bit more about things like homesteading with children. We're going to get into some interesting topics. This is going to be a longer season 5, and we're going to be talking about things like water rights. What is that? We're going to be talking about just a bunch of other things, a lot of gardening how-tos and answering a lot of gardening questions. And we're going to be answering a lot of homesteading questions as far as how to avoid burnout and how to get started. We're actually going in season 5, we're going to be revisiting that subject on getting started on homesteading. And we're going to really break it down and get really granular. And that's where the topic of homesteading with children is going to come into play. Because if you're just starting out to homesteading and you've got kiddos, yeah, that's a whole different world right there. So we're going to be talking about a lot of deep subjects like that. So stay tuned for season 5. And until next time, from all of us to all of you, wherever you are in the world, happy homesteading, and please stay safe out there.